Morning. Unmic, unmute.
There we go. Morning.
There we go.
My hands were frozen. I'm really sorry. It's so cold.
I know. Trying to warm up. How's everyone? Have everyone put the heating on yet? Central heating's on. September is here. And now and it's a bit chilly.
It is a bit. I thought I'd put sort of a bit of refresh sunshine shirt on this morning. This is especially for you, Mark Blythe, if you're watching. I know how much you love orange.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Morning, church. I'm already ahead of you, Mark. I'm already ahead of you. I saw something pop up.
Did you?
I did. On Facebook.
You're always ahead of me.
I'm afraid the birthdays singing happy birthday is imminent. So those whose birthday it is, I know of Leslie Blythe, and now I know of Ian Hood. Obviously, we did Martin last week, but he was Wednesday. Morning, Mum. Morning, Tony Kelly. Let's put Tony up. I'm going to put Tony up. You read our minds. You read our very minds, Mr. Kelly. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. Now, good morning, everybody. Obviously, it's the husband and wife duo of Marc and Shelley, and we'll just see. We have some very lovely guests with us today. One being Susie Oliver, who is about to start the marriage course. So we'll just see if we need those services after this live stream.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So just a bit of tech, my darling. My screen keeps freezing, so
okay. I think you may have to come down here. I was just going to say, I am trying to train people up to learn how to be the studio, to add bits and pieces, basically how to work the studio with guests, with banners, with all sorts of things. So the only way to do this is for people to jump in live one Sunday. Now, Martin obviously tried last week, but the laptop wasn't behaving, so he had to go on his iPad, and you can't work the studio on an iPad or phone. You can only do it really on a Mac or a PC. So Martin and Mark, we're having trouble with connectivity in other areas of our house, and the screen keeps freezing. So you may have to come down here and then I swap with you, or we literally sit together. I can feel us signing up for that marriage course really soon. So we shall see. So let's have a look. Oh, there we go. Why are you looking over there?
There you go. See, especially for you, Mark.
Morning, Olivia.
Morning.
It's so nice to see you. So we are, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we are Refresh Church, and we are based in Molesey, which is near Hampton Court in Surrey. If you're joining us for the first time, it's so lovely to have you. We're obviously fairly relaxed, certainly on our live stream. But until we can get together and properly be together and have a service together, this is what we're doing, as are many. So you're very welcome to join us. All contact details are in the comments below. Our Facebook, our Instagram, I think our website's on there, and obviously this is our YouTube channel. So keep, subscribe, the little bell for notification. Go on, Mark, you will do it. There we go. All the information's along the bottom as well. So if you want to subscribe, please do. And if you want to get notifications when we go live, click on the little bell that's there. All our past live streams are on there if you want to catch up, or there's a speaker in particular that you'd like to hear what they shared with us. They're all on our YouTube channel, so all the details will either appear along the bottom or they're in the comments section below. There's a few other things in the comments section below that are relevant to our live stream this morning. If we bring up comments and things, there we go. There we go. He's having a play.
There's our comments.
Oh, okay. Tony Kelly wants to learn as well. Yes.
Sheila Lee, morning.
That would be an interesting morning. There's certain things we can do when it's not live, and the rest we have to do when it's live. And it's so it is what it is, you know.
Morning,
It is.
Sheila. There we go.
Good morning, Ellie. Haven't seen you for a few weeks. Good morning, Ellie. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Clay. Mark's clicking away. Good morning,
There we
Judith.
go.
Good morning, Judith. Right, so I'm going to do some of the notices and bits and pieces. So, who we are, Refresh Church. I've done that bit. How to keep in contact. That's it. Marvelous. Who's on this week is Susie Oliver, as I mentioned. We run some small groups during the week. We're certainly running some small groups up until Christmas. And by small groups, we mean beautifully socially distant, adhering to all the COVID guidelines, so you will be perfectly safe. So we're running some small groups. And Lynn is coming on to talk about 24/7 prayer weekend that's coming up, which is next weekend. But Susie is running the marriage course. I believe it's 7 evenings. She'll elaborate when we speak to her. But we're hosting that coming up soon. So Susie will be on to talk about that. Lynn is coming on to talk about 24/7 prayer weekend. And our guest speaker is Dr. Phil Moore.
What a lineup.
With a theme titled In It for the Long Haul. Certainly very true. So I have just a little bit of church news. I've got to find some things on my phone as well. Dave and Jenny Jupp are safely delivered another gorgeous grandchild. Yay! I think this is 4. This is their 4th one. I think so. Now, I have her permission to tell you the story. So this is what she said. Our little granddaughter, Rose Ethel Dorrie Jupp, gorgeous.
Ethel?
Ethel, I know it's my nan's name. That was
Ethel,
my nan's name.
That.
Oh, yeah. Rose Ethel, old English names. It's like Ruby, my Ruby, old English names. I know Ethel, my nan's name, my mum's name. Anyway, brilliant. I digress. Jupp was born safely on September the 9th, weighing 5 pounds, 5 ounces. Wow. After spending a week or so in hospital, she is now safely home and doing really well. Dave and I spent a couple of weeks over with Matthew and Philippa to help look after big sister Amelie, nearly 3 years old. Wow. Whilst they travelled back and forth to the hospital. Rose is absolutely gorgeous, and we have had lots of lovely cuddles. And Dave and I are now home and enjoying some rest. And the other bit of information to this is that apparently they were expecting a boy, and they painted the nursery blue and got all the boy clothes ready, and it was quite a shock and a surprise when out popped a little Rose, apparently. So the story goes. And apparently it's this is a 1 in 10 occurrence where you're confirmed one sex, but another one pops out. Wow. So yeah, it's like, yay, baby's been born and it's a girl. Pardon? So it's a bit of a shock. So yes, you can turn that blue into a lavender or put some flowers on the blue. And as I maintained, you go to all these lengths to get all these correct baby clothes, and then they're covered in vomit and things. So they're just basically in the washing machine all the time. You just want clean, dry anything. So yeah, I'm sure, but that must have been a bit of a shock. So,
I'm sure it was.
Congratulations from all of us to you guys, to Philippa and Matthew, and to Dave and Jenny. All our love and congratulations to you.
Well done, Dave and Jenny. Even though you didn't do anything.
Good news, bless her. So next thing is the harvest appeal, and we were speaking about the food bank last week, and I think there's been an email out to everybody, and yeah. At the moment, there is a steady stream of people needing the food bank, and they need your donations. That's how it works. They get so much from the supermarkets, but they still need donations from the general public. So when you're shopping, if you could buy a few extra items and pop it, there's actually a food bank bin, I think, at some of the well-known supermarkets. Or during the 24/7 prayer, we will have our buckets there, and then we can give it to the food bank. So please keep giving to the food bank during this time. So I think that's all the news, unless there's something someone wants to unless there's something I've forgotten someone wants to put into the comments. Yes, the congratulations. It's great news, great news. Right, so let's bring in Lynn. Should we bring in Lynn?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you can bring me in.
Good morning.
Morning, Lynn.
Morning, both of you. Lovely to see you both together.
Thank you. When we did our little test pre-broadcast, we were on each other's computers, which was very confusing. Shelley was Mark and Mark was Shelley. So
Yes.
we're kind of back where we belong, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
But lovely to see
It's
you,
all
Lynn.
about connectivity.
Mm.
And it is a bit of a shock with this weather, isn't it? Because this
Yes.
time last week, I was in Cornwall on the beach in my shorts and cosy. So I wouldn't be doing that today.
No.
Knitwear is on.
Layers. I was always taught it's all about layers, isn't it?
It is all about layers, Mark. I didn't need that last week.
I've been getting the knitting needles out as a little free projects, and I must admit, when I started, I thought I can't even bear it touching my legs because I was knitting it was growing. I was like, oh, I'm too hot. now I can't get enough on. So, in a week, a dramatic change in a week. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing from you, Lynn. I know we've touched on it already. We've got. I won't do the talking for you, but we've got an exciting weekend coming up, haven't we? So,
yes.
Should we just leave you to talk about it for a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back to you in a sec? Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's do that.
Oh,
Let's do that.
That's me.
And
there we go. La, la.
Pate. There we go.
Okay. Well, I think an email went out, didn't it, with lots of information about 24/7. But just really to reiterate, it was in response to the current climate that we're walking through. You know, the turbulent times that we're currently going through, and for me, it was certainly when the surgery started to come out of lockdown. As we came out of lockdown, we saw far more people through the surgery, and as people were coming in, I was just hearing people wanted to offload, really, you know, whether it was about financial concerns, health concerns, delay in appointments, you know, people facing job losses, navigating redundancy, all the things we know about, you know, and we were hearing about the need for more foster parents for babies because of the increase in domestic violence. So, you know, it got me thinking, and I'm sure everyone else has thought, how can we as a church meet the needs of our community? How can we be there at this time for our community? So just kind of set things thinking about 24/7 weekend. And so it's really a time to call out to God for our communities, our family and friends, our neighbours that we know are hurting, that we know are going through a loss of one kind or another, jobs, finances, loved ones, whatever it is they're trying to navigate. There's a lot of despair, fear, uncertainty around, and that may be you, you know, and we're not excluded from this. That may be you. So we need to be seeking God's face for answers and solutions. We need to get his take on this. We need to see it through his eyes and not ours. So we need to pray as a body. And in 2 Chronicles 7:14, and I'm sure you all know it, and I'm sure you've looked at it recently, it says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face and turn from their wicked way, I will hear from heaven and forgive their sins and heal their land. And we have to seek the Father's face at this time and say, what can I do, Lord? What can I do? Where have you put me? And how do you want to use me there? God's very good at strategically placing us, isn't he? You know, you think about Esther. She was a Jewish girl who was made queen to a Persian king. And she was in the prime position to go to the king and intercede for the Jewish people when they were facing annihilation and genocide, and she secured their safety. So where has God placed you? You know, it might not be quite as pivotal as Esther with a Persian king, but God will have placed you somewhere carefully. He'll know your context, he'll know your situation. And this is the time to just be seeking his face, to intercede for those around us, to ask how we can be mobilized to help. So I know that may not apply to everyone for all sorts of reasons on our journey through our relationship with God, excuse me. You know, we drift in and out of relationship, don't we? You know, it can go hot and cold, and maybe you don't feel very close to God right now, and maybe you feel a million miles away and wonder if he even remembers your name. Well, you know, if you feel like that and you don't feel in a position to come and interceding for others, just come and be with him. Just come and, like I said before, just come and hang out with him. Just come and spend time in his presence without an agenda, and just come close. See this as your opportunity to just break into that cycle and come close. Psalm 27:4 says, "One thing I ask from the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and seek him in his temple." Is that my timeout?
No, it's not. It's not your timeout. I apologize. Do you know what? Oh, wait a minute. Let me bring myself in. Do you know what it is? I didn't mute us, so you can hear my text messages coming in.
Oh, okay. I thought, bing.
I muted myself.
Okay.
Well, you did well. I'm to blame. So
okay.
carry on, Len.
So I was just going to say, you know, if there's going to be any revival of any sort, it has to start with us. And we can't give anything of ourselves that's of any worth. It has to be of the Lord. And we need to be filling up our own tanks by enriching our relationship with him, being empowered again by the Holy Spirit, if we're going to be of any use to anyone at all. And the phrase I just want to leave you with is, the vision is Jesus. The vision is Jesus. And Pete Greig speaks about starting the 24/7 movement in his book, Dirty Glory. And I'm just going to read this bit that he writes. He says, "The point of prayer, the entire impetus behind the 24/7 movement, is not the power it releases, but the power it reveals. The person it reveals, sorry. The vision I wrote in the first prayer room is Jesus. Dangerously, obsessively, undeniably Jesus. I don't pray because I'm into prayer. I pray because I'm into Jesus. So we talk. I don't believe in the power of prayer. I believe in the power of Jesus. So I ask for his help a lot." So, church, let's do that. Let's just get close, talk to him, and ask him for lots of help.
And what we need, I was going to say, my husband's fiddling around. What I wanted to say was, a few of us have been to a few of these 24/7 prayer weekends, and they can be very creative. You're not just sitting in this horrible, hollow echoey, sterile, but COVID safe refresh centre. We make it as COVID friendly as we can. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff. We've had, fabrics, we've had comfy cushions, we've had, just the most beautiful little spaces before, where you can just go, as you say, just go, sit and just be with him.
Yes.
And it's just so magical and so relaxing and so lovely that, a 3 o'clock in the morning slot, you think, oh, and then you walk in and it's just like, it's almost, I want to say womb-like, but you know what I mean? It's just the most gorgeous place to be. Now, obviously, we have a lot of stuff that we can't have in terms of soft furnishings, because we all know things have to be, wipe cleanable. However, Lynn and the team will be making it as friendly and as warm and cozy as it possibly can be, so we create as much of that feeling as possible. So don't think, and there can be the other people that come in, so please don't think you're in some sort of scary echo chamber that's all a bit weird. And for those of you that haven't been to one before, I sort of thought that needed to be explained, because it's like, what is this, how does this actually work? But it's in Refresh, and there's sometimes different zones. You can just read, you can draw, you can chill, you can have headphones on and just listen, you can be loud, you can sing. It's actually just a very creative space to do all sorts of different things.
Can we just explain to people, sorry, how long is each slot, Lynn?
Oh yeah,
it's 1 hour. They're 1 hour slots.
Okay.
People can have a ticket for 2 hours,
Okay.
if you want to go for any longer than an hour, that's fine. And there will be provision for 4 tickets for each 1 hour slot, as the email said. But there'll be more information coming out on emails to people who do sign up. So, because of course we have to consider security at night and access to Refresh during the night using the key lock and things like that. So, yeah.
It can be tricky, but it also can be fairly simple as well. I mean, for those of us that have done it before, it really isn't. It's actually quite simple, really. So I have a message. That Friday night, Saturday morning and Sunday morning is pretty much signed up, but we need sign-ups for the rest of the time. So if you can, I think it's on, Susie, can you give me a thumbs up down there? Is it in the rota, on My Church Suite, in the sort of small, is it sign-ups, rotas? The rotas section, I think. Hang on, I'm going to bring Susie in. Suze, where is it that it's in My Church Suite, isn't it?
There.
There you go. She's found it on her phone. And your microphone's off. I'm going to unmute you. Microphone.
While you do that, can I just think?
My Church Suite, and you can see a candle, and you tap on there, and look, you can see sign up. And when you click on sign up, I'm already signed up. Look, I've got a QR code. Look at me. When you tap on sign up, it'll give you all the options where you can sign up, and you can choose your hour, and you can add as many as you like.
Okay.
There's nothing like a actual demonstration, because there will be people sitting there going, oh, what does this do? And is this right? And should I do this? So forgive me, but an actual demonstration is probably just as helpful. Thank you, Lynn. That is... Okay. It's really lovely to have you on regardless, and to hear what you have to say. So thank you so much for that. And so sign up, everyone. Go into My Church Suite, have a look at the slots that are available, and there will be more information coming. Thank you for joining us, Lynn. Lots of love. Lynn. Thank you, Lynn. I nearly missed it. Happy birthdays.
Yes.
Dave Jupp,
yes,
apparently as well. So Dave Jupp, Leslie Blythe, Ian, as far as I know. Are we ready?
Anna Densham-Brand was last Monday, wasn't she?
She was, and Martin. We did those last week, and Tori. So we'll do the quick version.
Go on, then you choose.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear
Dave.
Ian, Leslie, and Dave Jupp. Happy birthday to you. Delays. Happy birthday to you all. Hope you have a lovely
And
birthday.
anyone we might
Best as you can. As best as you can. Right. I'm going to have. Well, so any comments, Mark? Any
Let's
comments?
have a look. Here we
Oh,
go. Judith, amen, Lynn. Really well shared with us this morning. Thank you. Yep, fantastic. Lovely. Thank you.
thank you, Rory. I shall look forward
Very inspiring,
to
Lynn. Yeah,
receiving it.
I know. I'll show you that one in a second. There's it. There.
Okay.
Rory said, I'm sorely tempted to text you now to Shelley.
My compadre.
Yeah. And congratulations, Mark,
Together next.
wedding anniversary.
Ah, happy wedding anniversary, guys.
And just a little kind of a Facebook stroke church birthday, James Taylor. Old friend to many of us, not a member of the church, sadly, anymore. But it was his birthday this week, and his dad is very ill. So we're praying for his dad as well. So if any of you happen to speak to James this week, just remind him, tell him that we're thinking of him.
We're thinking of him. Brilliant. Okay. Now we had a little taster of Mrs. Susie O. So let's bring Mrs. Susie O back on again. You going to bring her on, Mark?
Yeah.
There we go.
Hello.
Yes,
Morning.
Hello.
How are
Morning,
you doing
Jules.
in this chilly day?
It
The
is.
dog walk this morning was
No,
a
I won't
shocker.
go out.
Yes, it was a shocker. I literally had a hat and a coat on. Oh, okay. I had a hat and a coat on. All the bulk. I was like, cracky. This is, again, literally from a very warm, lovely weekend to a completely different change of temperature, and the heating went on. So there we go. Happy, but thank you, Monica. I'll leave Mark to do his thing. So we've got small groups. We've got lots of different small groups coming up. And what we'd like to do on the live stream is maybe while we have a little bit of time to show a spotlight on some of the small groups that we've got coming up. Some have, some people are happy to do that, some are not. But Suze, we're doing a marriage course, I think, for the first time in ages, really. And it's going to be on Zoom.
Yeah, well, David and I were just reflecting that we spent a lot more time together over the last few months than we have in the past few years, maybe. And some of that has been really great. And guess what? We're humans. Sometimes that's been a little bit like, okay. Actually, our marriage is really important to us. And we want that sense of unity that I guess Jude was talking about when she shared communion with us a couple of weeks ago, it feels like. That actually great marriages don't happen by accident. We want our marriage to be as good as it can be. So we thought, well, who can we learn from? And we remembered that Mark and Leslie had run the marriage course in the past. And I had a chat to Leslie, who she says they've done the course 3 times, which is quite impressive. She described it a little bit like an MOT. Like, this is just about strengthening connection and communication. The course covers things like best ways to resolve conflict, forgiving each other. And we thought, actually, that's something that we'd really love to do for ourselves. And if others would like to join us, because they also, I think there's been a massive increase in our community in general, like the nation, about people thinking about their marriages because they've come under different pressures at the current time, that actually, if people would like to join us, they'd be really welcome to. So we're doing it on Zoom, because that means we don't have to find a babysitter.
Damn fine idea. Yes. I like it. So
anyone is welcome to join us. They can be part of the church or not. The course, although it's written by Christians, written by the same people that did the Alpha course, it's suitable for people of all faiths, none, for cohabiting and married couples. And so if you would like to join us, do sign up on Church Week. If you'd like to recommend someone who's not part of church, then you know what? It's on Facebook and it's on Instagram now, so you can like or respond or comment or share it with someone, and we will send them the link so they can sign up. And that's pretty much it.
We will get interactive. We will get interactive.
I would really encourage Morgan, who's mucked around with all the fonts for me to get it on, if you would actually react and respond to what's posted there, because that will actually ensure that the word goes out. It's about how we share the hope and the good news of Jesus. What we can do in this season is react online.
Yeah, we will be interactive, and it's kind of makes it all just a bit more, just a lot simpler. So I know there's a few people that have come via me to it. So, you know, come on, there's a lot of interest out there at the moment. So sign up, sign away. Like Susie said, it's an MOT.
The thing I want to clarify is there are no group discussions in this course. So how it works is more that a date night atmosphere in your own home, and I will be making date night packs and sending them out to people that come to, you know, provide you with the first box of chocolates and so forth. That you create that atmosphere where it's easy to talk, and then we'll watch a video, and then all the discussion will just happen between you and your partner, not with everybody. And Tony Kelly's just asked, when does it start? So I'll answer that one. October the 7th. So it's a Wednesday night, 8 p.m.
Yes, I was something in my head then about Tony Kelly, but Tom Kelly, as we now call him on Livestream, I decided not to say anything because I thought just it's coming. So that sounds really nice. It sounds like, you know, basically you have, you know, you set yourselves up for a little bit of a date night and you watch the video together, but thinly disguised as a marriage course, but actually you're just finding some time together.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes we need a bit of structure to get us started on doing that when everything in life has been thrown up in the air and you're kind of out of routine or finding new patterns with everything. So that's the idea.
No, I like it. I can see it now. That's actually quite cute. Yeah, especially from home. It's like watching, I don't know, just taking how long does it last?
It's 7 sessions. So
and is it an hour? Is it an hour, a couple of hours?
They say an hour to an hour and 3/4. So we will learn as we go. David and I haven't done it before. Leslie, when she said that they did it in person at the Refresh Centre, they said it was taking about 2 hours, but they were eating as they went. So maybe we'll allow 8 till 10, but I think we'll be done before then.
But I think investing a couple of hours in each other, you know, once a week, once every other week.
No, it'll be once a week for 7
weeks.
Once
a week is not
Christmas.
I think it's nothing but positives there. Oh, I like that idea. Yes, very. Thank you, Susie, very much for that. Yes, we've all had. I'm trying to think of the way to say it. Some we've peeled back the onion layers of our relationships during this time, and some are nice. I'm not going to say any more. I think it's just been a voyage of discovery, and some have been. Some have got much deeper, and others I don't know. It's an interesting one, but I think the main thing is to not judge each other too much, because we are in unprecedented times, and this is another way to sort of, you know, bring you together, literally in many, you know, in physically and mentally. Good. Well, thank you, Suze. Lovely to see you, stranger, and I'll speak to you next week. Oh, there we go. Here we go, Suze. Good prompts. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Suze. Okay, right. Would you like to come back and join me, Mark?
It will be my pleasure. I'm here.
Oh, is that me again? I apologise. I'm going to put my phone on silent. Very annoying. I've just realised we literally are the Refresh colours. Oh, that's so sad.
We are, aren't we?
However, I do like them as colours, but just to let you know, this actually wasn't deliberate. Well, Mark's was deliberate, but mine
was deliberate, yeah.
Right. So time is moving on.
What are we going to do now, Shelley?
Would you like to play, before we bring Phil Moore on, what about a little worship song?
I'd love to play it, but I can't do it from this PC because
is it me that has to do it? Okay, right. I've got to try and
while you're setting up though, it's a song from the Bethel camp. They can't do much wrong as far as I'm concerned, and just let it speak to you ahead of the 24/7 weekend. That's really all I'll say. And for your slot at the 24/7 weekend, just give yourself permission to spend an hour with God, you know, an hour with the Holy Spirit, an hour with Jesus. So, you know, we all talk about how busy our lives are, and they are, pretty darn busy. So if nothing else, just, you know, give yourself permission. That'll be fantastic. Yeah, go on.
I think we both disappeared for a minute
Oh,
then.
did we?
I don't know what
Okay.
happened, but we're here now. The technology is right. So we will see you in a minute. Enjoy.
You are calling me again. I hear your voice upon the wind. In the quiet and the still. Heaven. Glory written in the sky. In the turning of the seas. Echoes of your majesty. Heaven. Oh, that you have done, the promise that there's more to come. All I am cries out for more of you, more of you. Your presence is heaven. Oh, to be with you, just to be with you. Your glory all around me. Oh, to be with you. I love to be with you. Oh. There's a stirring in my soul, and a fire here within. And deep is calling deep again. And it's heaven. And oh, with all that you have done, the promise that there's more to come. And all I am cries out for more of you. Oh, for more of you. Your presence is heaven. And all to be with you. I love to be with you. Your glory and all around me. And all to be with you. I love to be with you. Oh. Heaven come, fill this place. Glory to glory, and grace to grace. Here and now, your kingdom come. Our God eternal, now and forevermore. Heaven come. And now, let your kingdom come. Oh God, eternal, now and forever. Your presence is heaven, and all to be with you, and just to be with you. Your glory, here on me, and all to be with you. I love to be with you.
Wow, wow, wow,
Sorry.
wow. Wow.
It's great, isn't it? It probably goes on for another 10
For
minutes.
those of you that don't know, Mark was walking around worshipping, and it was like, much as I'd love to do that,
I knew.
you've got to do. I know, so you were a bit late back to the chair.
Yeah.
That's okay. I know, you just start getting into it, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, hang on, I have a job to do. I have a responsibility on my
Exactly.
hands. Fantastic. Thank you, Jen Johnson. That's beautiful. We did actually try to find one with the lyrics on, but well, we couldn't, could we?
There were no.
What was-
Well,
you were looking-
there is one, but there are lovely pictures of snow-capped mountains. But the lyrics were kind of too close to the color of the background.
That's right.
It didn't really work. So we thought we'd
I'm
go
afraid
live.
understandable.
Go live.
We go live. Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Jen. Oh, yes. I have memories of old 24/7 prayer weekends coming back, and they really are. It seems like the right thing to do, but at the same time a strange thing to do, if you know what I mean, in the current situation. But
Yeah.
they've always been this gorgeous little warm light that glows in the high street in Molesey. You sort of walk in the door and it's just, you feel so different from when you've left. And I've actually sat for an hour thinking, oh, I'll do an hour. I couldn't do more than an hour, and I've been there 3 hours. Quite easily, because you're just chilled and you're just enjoying the space. So please do sign up for that, and let's pray for our this global situation. We all have a part to play. Yep. Right, on to.
Hey,
hi everybody. Great to see you guys. How are you doing?
I feel like we need background music. We need intro music. We need something. Yeah. We need something. It just goes.
You need something like a funeral march. You mean?
No, like a fanfare, Phil. Like a fanfare.
We need like a fanfare. Play on music.
I'll find something. You carry on.
No, really, no, babe. Thank you. Marriage course. So we're going to welcome the lovely Phil Moore into our live stream this morning. How are you, Phil? The incredibly shrinking Phil Moore.
I'm really very well indeed, thank you. We had a great
look at you, little tiny.
Well, we had a great week away, not this week but last week, and enjoyed the sunshine down in Somerset and Dorset, and had a really nice time visiting various places. Shorts and t-shirt weather, as you said, and it was good. And we're now back home, and I am almost at my target for losing weight, so that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Can I ask how much that's been? How long?
In the past year, about 6 stone.
Wow.
And if there's one person we know who will do it, it's Phil Moore. I mean, you had something ridiculous like 800 calories you had to stick to. Is that right?
Well, the last 18 weeks I've been on an 800 calorie a day diet or less, and the weight has come off very effectively. So I'm doing fine. I'm in good form.
You've got quite a big jumper on, and it still doesn't pad you out. So I'm impressed. I'm so impressed. But you without giving too much away, your cholesterol down, everything is down, and you're
doing very well. Doing very well. Feeling the cold though, which is why I've got a jumper on.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I know. So lovely to see you, and I know it's very difficult because we've all been although we had our hours exercise, we've actually been a little bit more sedentary. So it's quite hard to do. Apart from the calories, it's actually been quite difficult to do it any other way. Okay, a bike, yes. If you're not a bike rider, then there wasn't a lot of other choice. So, anyway, look at that. Here we go. Lots
and a very simple wow from Clay G. I think that kind of sums it up.
Look
There
at
you
that.
go. Look, looking amazing.
Actually,
Phil.
for Clay G, wow is a very short statement.
Yeah, isn't it? But
Isn't
you
that
get
right,
it's not
Clay
just
G?
it's not just wow. Look at the emoji
Oh,
there.
Yeah. Great.
The little stars.
Well done.
And
There
it's
you go.
because it's cold.
There you go. Because
I
it's
know, it's incredible. Well done. So we will leave you to it, I think. There's no let's sort of crack on and leave you to
Fine.
bring your message.
I'll have a little.
See you soon.
Okay, see you guys in a little while. Great to see everybody. At least I'm assuming I can see you and you can see me. But it's great to be present with you and really appreciate you taking the time to talk. I want to talk for a little while this morning about something that's very current with me. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever taken a shortcut that has foiled you? Do you think, that was a complete waste of time. It's taken me longer than in the first place. Do you remember the early days of sat-navs when you used to hear the stories of great big articulated trucks ending up in a field because the sat-nav took them what appeared to be a shortcut on the map and ended up without a road at all? About 20 years ago, we went to South Africa and we were driving along the south coast and saw that there was a winery that we thought we'd love to go and visit. So we looked on the map, found a road, and turned up there, thought this is a really direct route. It turns out that it was a 30-mile dirt road. And we drove all the way up this road. You couldn't drive very fast. And actually, the car got so dusty, it was unbelievable. We got there, but it was hardly a shortcut. On another occasion, we were in Zimbabwe, and we were driving from Bulawayo towards the south of Zimbabwe up to Victoria Falls, which is in the north. And we looked on the map and we thought we could take not exactly a shortcut, but a parallel route through Wangi National Park. It'd be great to see that and see some of what's going on there. So we turned off and we got in there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they said to us, you need to be out by 6 o'clock. And we thought that isn't a problem. And we kind of wandered through this twisty road. Wasn't nearly as straight as it looked on the map, I have to say. And through all the jungle, it was very potholed and very rough. And about 2.5 hours into that, we looked at the map again and thought, we've got an awful long way to go. And if we didn't get to the exit gate by 6 o'clock, we got shut in for the night. We'd have had to spend the night in our hired car within a national park with all the wild animals that were there. So I put my foot down and we drove as fast as we could through this national park and got out of the gate finally at 5 to 6. At which stage there was still a 30-mile road to get to the main road, which was again a dirt road. And it was getting darker and darker. And I was complaining to the boss about how difficult it was to see. And the lights on the car were dreadful. And about 15 miles into that 30-mile dirt road, I suddenly realized I still had my sunglasses on, took them off and managed to see again. And hardly a shortcut. And if you want to talk about something that's a long way that without shortcuts, talk to Mark Blythe about his epic cycle from Land's End to John O'Groats and how he had to really dig deep to get through that. One of the things I want to say is that there are no shortcuts with a 3-mile-an-hour God. See, we're called to walk with God, not necessarily run with him, but to walk with him. And we need to take our time and understand that God doesn't do shortcuts. What he does is he takes us through a process. And therefore, it's important to realize that we are in it for the long haul. We're in it for the long haul. That actually doesn't always feel like good news to us because the long haul stretches ahead of us like the road in the picture, and we think, oh, Lord, how long is this going to take? And it doesn't always feel like a great thing to be facing. About a week ago, Boris announced that it's going to be yet another 6 months, didn't he? I don't know how you felt, but my heart sank. Another 6 months. And what are we going to think? Are we thinking about what we do from April on next year? I don't know. However, some good news for you all. I'm not going to talk about COVID-19. We're all fed up with COVID-19. But I want to talk about in it for the long haul this morning. In our spiritual walk with God, our Heavenly Dad often wants us to look further ahead than just the present. And being in it for the long haul implies a number of things for us. It means it takes a long time and a lot of effort. We have to be determined to continue doing something and not give up within a day or two. And we've got to be determined to carry on until it is finished successfully. That's not easy. That takes some discipline. We have to be able to do it for as long as it takes to accomplish a task or attain a goal. And it involves our commitment to another person, to other people, or to a task that's in hand. And inevitably, it implies a risk. Because what if we never get there? What if we are simply wasting our time? And what if actually it's still an awful long way ahead? And being in it for the long haul sometimes feels like an awfully long way to go. How often people in the Bible must have felt like this? Just one or two examples for you. The Israelites, as they wandered through the wilderness for 40 years. 40 years, guys, must have often wondered, would they ever make it to the promised land? Would they ever get there? Then Moses, where he was overlooking the battle that was going on, and he discovered that if he held his arms up in the air, then the Israelites were winning, but if his arms fell down, they would start to get overwhelmed. And he also thought, how long can I keep my hands in the air to get through this? And then Jesus, who spent 40 years fasting in the wilderness, and I may have lost some weight, but I've not done 40 days of fasting. That's really, really, really quite a task. And how often must he have wondered during those days of fasting, would it ever end? Would he get through it, especially as he was being hounded by the enemy throughout that time, and many, many others with a similar story in the Bible. But here is some good news for us, guys. Here is some really, really good news, that God is always ready to help us in the long haul. When the Israelites were in the wilderness, God sent manna and quails for them to eat every day for 40 years, and it never failed, and neither did the water. When Moses was holding up his arms, Aaron and Hur, his two close colleagues, came and they held his arms up for him in the long haul of the battle, provided by God to assist him. It's not just God himself, it's those around us. And when Jesus was in his 40-day long haul in the wilderness, angels came to support him so that he was taken through it. So our dad takes us through these things. He doesn't just do it to annoy us and stress us, although it might feel like that sometimes, I have to say. But he doesn't do it for that reason. He does it because we develop and we grow as a result. He does it because it prepares us for success. It prepares us for the success that he wants for us. And we need to learn to ask not what happens if God doesn't answer our prayers, but dear Lord, what happens if God does answer our prayers? Will we be ready? Can we cope? Because that's going to be really challenging. And the part of the long haul is that God takes us through that process to prepare us for answered prayers when he can give to us safely the things that we've been desiring and wanting. And learning to trust God and to hang in there so that God can make us what he needs us to be for when he brings the answer is an important thing for us to get through. God's there to help us, and we need to learn that trust and to hang in there so he can get us ready for the answers that he so desperately wants to give us. So, for us, here in Molesey, now in this area, living in Elmbridge, in the outskirts of London, what's it about? For Refresh, it's always been about the long haul. We've so often over the many, many years talked about the long haul. We've talked about the fact that we need to earn the right to speak and be heard, that we can't just go on shouting through a megaphone and expect people's ears to be open. We need to live there to be accepted. That can be frustrating. But look at Jesus. Jesus spent 30 years living in the muck and the mire of an ordinary day-to-day, live-a-day community to earn the right to be heard. People knew him and judged him on the basis of what they knew of him for 30 years. And even then, he was careful not to get drawn in immediately. Do you remember when he was at the wedding feast in Cana of Galilee, and his mum came to him and was desperate for him to help out with a lack of wine at the wedding feast, a disaster in Jewish society? He said, well, my time's not here yet. I'm not ready for this. And he eventually did what his mum said, like any good Jewish boy, but he wasn't too ready to just dive straight in. There's a picture in the Bible that's often used of this being in it for the long haul, of sowing seed. Because when you sow seed, you don't get an immediate result. You've got to wait. And there's no guarantee that it'll be us that reap. In fact, if you look at Paul writing to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians 3, he says, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow, and likely somebody else will reap it, as Jesus said in John 4. He said, one sows, another reaps. I sent you to reap what you haven't worked for. Others have done the hard work, and you've reaped the benefit of their labors. So there's no guarantees in this. It's high risk, but being in it for the long haul means that we are investing in the future, and sowing is a model where we take the risk and we go for it, even though it's demanding, even though it's hard work, even though we've got to be committed. We take that risk because it's worth it, because somebody somewhere is going to reap the benefits of that. So here's a question for us all. What are we investing in? What are we sowing into? How are we doing it? I think there's some really key lessons for us. One of the things that we've always done as Refresh Church in our community is invest into relationships with reality and vulnerability. Invest into loving our community, both inside the church and in our wider communities, our friends and neighbors and families. It's about doing life together. Let's go right back to when the church was exploded into reality at the day of Pentecost and the early days after that, back in the stories told by Luke in Acts 2 in the Bible. And at the end of that chapter, it says that there were 4 things that they were doing. They were learning from each other. Can I say that learning from each other means we have to be very real and vulnerable with each other. Otherwise, we become resistant and we become protected. They were learning from each other. They were sharing life together. They had fellowship. They were sharing meals from house to house, and they were praying together. Those 4 things are highlighted in Acts 2 as things that they were doing. But it also goes on to say they weren't just doing those reluctantly and thinking, oh dear, this is a drudgery. They were committed to those things. They were devoted to them. And they were in it. Guess what? They were in it for the long haul. They were in it for the long haul. They had a real commitment to getting those things done. And you know something? The effect on the community was electric. Because with that commitment that they were showing to do these things in order that they would earn those rights to be vocal and to have people's ears opened, things happened in their community, and they were inundated with favor and with growth. So what effect does it have when we invest in those things within our internal and external communities? A number of things. It means we've all got a part to play. This isn't about professional ministry. This isn't about people who are just leading. We all can share life together. Guess what? We can all eat together. And the important thing is they enjoyed it without a sense of drudgery. We all love having shared meals. We all love getting together. A bit difficult at the moment, but we'll say a bit more about that in a moment. There was a real reality about it all. In Acts 2, it says sincerity. That just means we're being real with each other. The original meaning of that word comes from a Latin that meant without wax, where wax was used to cover over flaws in something that was being sold. And without wax means we're being real, sincere. And it says they did it with joy. They were glad. You can see that in verse 46 of Acts 2. And there was a sense of fun and party. If you read it, there was a vitality, a vibrancy that reflected Jesus' time on earth, where it says that he was known as somebody who went to all the events that people were holding and they enjoyed themselves. He was known as somebody who enjoyed his wine and enjoyed eating and dining with people. He was, if you forgive the word applying to Jesus, but I think it's very true, he was a party animal. He loved going and being with people and relating to them. And in the context of the enormous grace that early church were showing to one another, guess what? The prophetic and the supernatural broke out in startling ways in that community that really focused attention on what they were doing. And all of those things established a foundation. Over the few years that was happening, they had a foundation built within them that prepared them. Do you remember we said the whole long haul is about preparing us? It prepared them, enabled them to cope with the adversity and the long haul of the persecution that arose and scattered them all over the then known world. And the church became known as they were scattered, having learned the lessons of Jerusalem. The church became known for being there when the chips were down, for not disappearing when the chips were down. Whether it was in persecution or disease or war, the church stuck with it. They were there for the long haul, involved in their community, providing relief. That's why it's so important to get involved in things like the food bank and in the prayer for our community and into relief of poverty and all the other things that are going to be so necessary in the days following the pandemic, that we can be there and we can imitate the early church in being in it, guys, in it for the long haul. It may not be easy to see the end. It may not be easy to define where it's going. There is a risk in not getting there, but we can be in it for the long haul. But let's come back to that good news that we talked about, that God is there to help us through this. I want us all to be aware together. We have got a patient dad. We've got a dad, a heavenly dad, who is committed to the long haul in our lives. I find that just such a revelation, such a reassurance that my heavenly dad is committed to me in the long haul. And guess what? He's a lot more patient than I am. And I think we need to increasingly trust the Holy Spirit. I've found two things about the Holy Spirit. He's a lot more patient than I am, and he's a lot more persistent than I am. And he will stick with me. He'll keep coming back about things, and he will help me through those. Why is that? Because my dad wants to make me as much like his son as I can possibly be. And he is infinitely patient about it. He doesn't give up. He's never disillusioned with me, because he was never illusioned in the first place. I'll tell you, I'm not a patient person. I've never been a patient person. When I was younger, I used to hate walking because it took far too long to get where I wanted to go. But when I was much younger, I used to run everywhere because I was bored just walking to get there. But I have to say, as I'm getting older, I'm much more prepared to take the time that things need. And I am prepared to value the process a lot more than I used to be. That's why I say God's been very patient with me, and I've really been grateful for that, because that approach to walking has been reflected in much of my life. But I'm valuing the process now, because God can develop me and grow me into what he needs me to be so that he can answer my prayers. It's a wonderful picture in the Old Testament, in Malachi 3, one of the Old Testament prophets, where it says that God will sit as a refiner and purifier of service and of silver. And the picture there is of somebody who was a smelter, somebody who heated metal up, and he would have a bowl, a crucible with the silver in, and a fire that was stoked up until it was hotter and hotter and hotter, and the silver would become molten. And as the silver became molten, the impurities would rise to the surface, and the refiner would scoop off the impurities and put them to one side, and keep doing that. And his test was, when was he able to look into that bowl of molten silver and see his reflection perfectly? Guys, God is working with us. Sometimes it feels like there's a hot fire as we're in the long haul, but he's working with us so that as we labor through the long haul, as we understand sometimes it gets a bit hot and uncomfortable, God is gradually allowing the impurities in our lives, the things that we haven't quite got to grips with yet, the things where we fall short of being all that Jesus could make us to be, are gently scooped off with such a hand of grace. And God is looking and seeing the reflection of his Son more and more reflected in our lives. There's a very old hymn, and forgive the old-fashioned language, but it says, "Burn, fire of God, with sevenfold refining, till mirrored from my deep your eyes shall see, in purest gold your perfect image shining, your Christ revealed in clearer radiancy." The long haul is what prepares us. The long haul is what makes us like Jesus. And our response to that long haul affects those around us who observe us. That long haul and how we react in it affects people as they observe us going through that. So what about us, church? What about me? What about you guys? There are no shortcuts. Why? It's for our good and development. And patience will yield its good, its effect in our lives. Question is, how do we avoid losing hope in the long haul? Because it's very easy when things go on and another 6 months, oh dear God, help me, I'm going to lose hope. How can we get through that? There's a number of things that writers in the New Testament said. I just want to give one or two to you as we begin to come into a close, just a few minutes yet. A paraphrase of a verse in Romans 5 says, "We know that the long haul produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." There's a process. As we go through the long haul and we persevere, it develops our character so that we've got hope. Very important. James said something very similar at the start of his letter to the churches. You know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its works so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Wow, I'm all for that, because I need to not lack anything so that I can cope with what God wants to send us. And later on in his letter, he reminds us, and it's an important lesson, that the Lord is full of compassion and mercy. God doesn't beat us up in the long haul. God is full of compassion and mercy to take us through that so that we come out not only having survived, but being stronger and better and more complete and ready for his answers. There's more. Paul told the Thessalonians at the start of his second letter to them that he boasted about their perseverance and faith in all the persecutions and trials they were enduring. He told the Corinthians in chapter 6 of his second letter to them, "We commend ourselves in every way in great endurance in troubles, hardships, and distress." And John specifically commends the two churches in Revelation 2 for their perseverance. Lots of examples where this is clearly the development process that the church needs to go through. So I've got a question for us all. What is the role of church in all this? What's the role of church? See, mission is about the long haul. Mission isn't about a sprint. Mission is about long haul, proving ourselves, earning the right to speak into people's lives. And if you look in the New Testament, I've often challenged people, find me a place where evangelism happened that wasn't in response to questions people came with. They came with questions because they've observed, they've seen, they've begun to hear, and therefore had questions. And the questions open the roll into mission. And sowing and sowing and sowing is what we need to do in the long haul of mission. And the church is here to support us all in that long haul. Church isn't here to exhaust us with programs and management of the structure of church. It's here to enable us to be in our communities as salt, light, and city for the long haul. To enable us to be in our communities and to be consistent about what we represent about Jesus and the gospel, the good news, and all that he is. It's about doing life together because we need each other to do this. But it's not about being in the rarefied atmosphere just of church, but it's about doing life in communities together. Going back to Acts 2, learning from each other, having to be real to achieve that, and vulnerable, sharing life together, doing things, sharing meals, praying together with reality and joy, fun and party, grace and tolerance of each other, so that the prophetic and supernatural can truly break out. So for all of us, as we just come into land, and you've all been really patient with me, can we be creative to find ways to share life together, despite all that society, all that circumstances, all that world pandemics and anything else throw at us? Can we be creative and find ways to share life together? It's not about meeting or traditional church activities and programs. It's about eating together, even on Zoom. Get your sandwiches and a glass of wine or whatever, and eat and drink together in a virtual environment. We can get together in up to 6 still at the moment and have a meal together. Let's do that. What about going out for walks together, doing practical things together like gardening or decorating, going out cycling, whatever floats your boat. Well, you can go out on a boat if you want to, whatever you like. It's about staying in touch. What about joining one of the small groups that's being proposed, making sure that we stay in touch with each other, praying together, signing up for our prayer weekend. It's about learning from each other, but that's going to require us to have enormous grace and tolerance with one another so that we're able to learn and not become resistant. I heard somebody talking this week about one church where they are really encouraging people to grow enormously and to grow into complete maturity, but people have become so focused on that, they tend to cover up the flaws. I don't want that. I want us to be able to be real about how imperfect we are so we can learn from each other and have support from each other and from our dad to get through and to grow and to develop. It's about being real and vulnerable, not making a pretense. It's about finding joy in our shared lives. And we want that joy to be infectious as it involves our communities as well. We want to include our communities in our joyful sharing of our lives together. And it's about embracing the adventure of new risks. Let's take the risks. If we don't get there, who minds? Somebody else will reap what we've sown. If we don't get there, somebody else will do it. You read through Hebrews 12 and learn about what Abraham and some of the other patriarchs in the Old Testament did. Even though they didn't see the results, they invested, they sowed, and others reaped it. And our heart is to see the way that we behave between each other, paving the way for prophetic and answered prayer to affect our communities dynamically and radically. And as we do these things, as we live with some of the lessons from the early church for the long haul and allow God to prepare us for our answered prayers that he desperately wants to give us, we're going to see the prophetic and the supernatural and answered prayers begin to dynamically and radically affect our communities. Father, we so appreciate you. We so appreciate the way that you are patient and persistent with us. You don't give up on us. You don't wash your hands up and think, oh, I've had enough of us. Father, you come on a persistent way as our dad, bringing us through into maturity and completeness like your son. And we cannot express our gratitude sufficiently to you. We want to just bring what we've talked about this morning. Help us to stick in there for the long haul. Help us to be persistent, to not give up, to persevere. Help us to take the risks and not lose hope, and to receive the sense of encouragement from you, because in our sights we have got the fact that this opens the door for you to prepare us for the answers to the very prayers that we're praying and the answers that you in your heart are desperate to give us. Thank you so much for all you are. Thank you so much for what you do with us and for your persistent love with us, for your acceptance and your belief in us, even when we don't accept ourselves and believe in ourselves. We are so grateful. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Phil.
That was fantastic. I think Phil's got even more energy now he's lost a bit of weight. That was fantastic.
I love how you come alive. I love how you come alive. I love how people come alive when they're talking. You can see they come alive. It's just this the belief and the faith and the passion comes out, and I love that. And that's what we're missing. That's what I'm missing. I can only speak for myself, but that's what we miss from I'd say being live.
That's right. And
I mean,
that's part, Shelley, of where we've got to be focused.
Of why you're saying what you're saying.
Even in all the stuff that's going on, and if it's not this, there'd be something else. Even in all this, let's find ways to allow that life and vibrancy of a dad who's alive and vibrant to come through us and to reflect in whatever way we're dealing with each other.
Absolutely. I'm starting to understand, or I think we're starting to understand what not makes us tick as such, but what it is that we're missing. It's really slow because I think we've got so many distractions and we've got so much to not let us think. But there's certain things about, as you were saying, about watching someone physically speak. It's not that it has to be a gig or a festival with 10,000 people. It has to be anything. Yeah. The physicality and the reaction when someone is, I don't know, singing or dancing or speaking in a way, and you can feel it. That's what we're missing. That's what there's.
Indeed. For
me, I can only speak for me, but I'd never have had this conversation, 6 months ago until it had been taken away. It was like, well, okay, you have the hassle when you're big church day out is something Mark and I love to do. You accept it's not happened, but as that builds up and you realize you've not had any of that, and you start to not push away as such, but it's guys, these small groups and these bits and pieces that we're trying to do, don't underestimate that rush, that lovely feeling of when you're physically, battery ran on his laptop, when you're physically with each other. And it's so easy for us to just, stay in our own homes and not do this stuff. And we have to fight this. We're in it for the long haul. Sorry, I was on a bit of a soapbox then myself for the minute. So thank you, Phil. We should let you go. Thank you so much.
Thanks for asking me. It's been a pleasure.
I do miss everyone. I miss that. Do you want to kind of join me this way? I'm going to step aside. It's really true. We can really start to. I don't want this norm to be the new norm where it's just sort of in and out, quick trips, not really interacting with anyone. I've seen a few people recently in the high street and they didn't look good. It was just, how you doing? And you can just see in their eyes, it's like, there's just this weight or something. It's, something, we've all had to adapt. They were being very positive and going for a walk and playing some music and trying to sort of, lift themselves out of it. But we have to talk about this stuff. It is the mental health. We do have to talk about this stuff. And even if we don't talk about it, actually physically getting together can make a big difference. Mark is supposed to be bringing you a reflection now, but he inadvertently left the dog in the bedroom, which is why you could hear the barking going on. So I'm going to shut up. Leave it to you, Mark.
There's almost, thank you. There's almost not very much to say, Phil. That was fantastic. There was just something while Phil was talking. Some of you guys will have little Bible apps. Shelley and I have got one called Word for the Day. This one popped up in the last couple of days. It's about being resilient. And until I knew what Phil was talking about this morning, this kind of popped up. So there are various phrases, aren't there, or things that we sing that we don't really think about. In all these things, we are more than conquerors. Romans 8:37. And it just sort of ties in a little bit. Sorry, I'm a bit out of breath. We've run up and down the stairs. If you conclude that your best days are over, they are. If you think they're ahead, they are. After losing his job at the Fortune 500 company, Leonard was fearful and depressed. Then it occurred to him that if he gave up, what would he be teaching his son? If he didn't overcome his challenges, his son would learn to let his challenges beat him. So Leonard was determined to show him that although his dad got knocked down, he could get back up. So he dug out his CV and called his friends to tell them he needed a job. And several months and many interviews later, he had 4 job offers and now works for a company that values his talent. And there's a little quote from somebody called John Gordon. I'm not entirely sure who he is, but he says, look, regardless of the adversity you face, your purpose must be greater than your challenges. We all have challenges, don't we? So instead of focusing on your problems, focus on your purpose. Instead of seeing yourself as a victim, see yourself as a hero. That's quite challenging because, you know, bad stuff happens. Heroes and victims both get knocked down, but heroes get back up. And here's the thing, armed with faith, they create a positive future. So I just want to encourage everyone to see themselves as a hero. It's not being immodest. It's just how God sees you all. So get back up. Let's all get back up and armed with faith, see if we can create a positive future together. So thank you, Phil. Thank you, all our guests. Just want to bless you all and send you into the week full of hope. And we might bump into each other at Refresh at the 24/7 weekend. But have a great weekend and see you soon. Bye.